Hi, I'm Nick Regine, the Professor of Crystal. Welcome to the third episode of Ask the Professor. Here again with us today is Kellie DeFries. Kellie is better known as the Crystal Ninja. Kellie, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Kellie, you're definitely an expert at working with flatback crystals. Have you used epoxy clay before?
I have. I've used it for a couple years now.
Great. And can you tell me what excites you about working with epoxy clay?
Well, before I wasn't able to even use the chaton elements because I didn't know how to. You had to have a pre-drilled setting, but now mixing the clay, you can sculpt it and design it and do many things with the Swarovski elements and the chatons.
Fantastic, and boy do I have a surprise for you today.
I can't wait.
Swarovski is launching a new product called Ceralun, and it's the Swarovski version of epoxy clay.
Wonderful, I'm excited.
Great. Here's a perfect example of working with Swarovski elements and also an epoxy clay. You can see that we've molded up the epoxy clay basically onto a pendant, and we've hand set the chatons into the clay. As Kellie had mentioned earlier, there's no need to create a drill cavity. The epoxy clays stick well to metal, plastic, wood, can also stick to leather in certain instances. It's just really a wonderful, wonderful product. So this is the Ceralun. Why I'm so excited to bring this product to you is it is an epoxy clay, just like some of the other epoxy clays that are out in the market, but there are just so many advantages to the Ceralun, and I can't wait to have you try this.
Awesome.
So Kellie, after that you cut open the packages, I want you to cut equal parts of the epoxy clay.
Alrighty.
So part A and part B. Now Kellie, now that you've cut equal parts of the A and the B, I'd like to have you put on a pair of plastic gloves. It's always best to wear plastic gloves when working with any type of chemical, whether it be an adhesive, an epoxy clay, even when you're cleaning your pieces with acetone.
Is this clay as sticky as the other epoxy clays?
No, it's not, and that's one of the advantages of it.
Wonderful. And how long should I need this for?
You're going to definitely want to knead it for at least 3 to 4 minutes. I would say more on the 3-minute side.
Awesome.
That's one of the advantages also with the Ceralun clay, is that you don't need to mix it as long as the other brands that are out on the market.
So far as I'm mixing this, I've noticed quite a bit of difference in the texture of it blending. It's quite nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely not as crumbly as some of the other epoxy clays.
Right, or oily. I've worked with others that are very oily.
You notice that this is not sticking to the gloves
Right.
as much as the other products do.
Yes, this is very nice.
Great.
And I think we're ready.
Perfect. Okay, Kellie, what I'd like to have you do is to place some of the epoxy clay, the Ceralun, into the pendant. Kellie, before that you start pressing the Ceralun into the pendant, I would suggest that you remove your wedding band and engagement ring or any other type of jewelry that you have on, because sometimes the clay will stick to that.
No problem.
Perfect. Okay, now you can just start pressing that into the cavity of the finding and just legitimately either dome it or make it flat, whatever your technique you'd like to build.
I enjoy doming it. It gives you more of a sculptural look, and then it definitely gives you more surface area to add more of those beautiful Swarovski chatons.
Perfect.
If you have fingerprints in it, once you fill in your pave, you'll never see them. So this is pretty smooth, and it's going in really, really nicely.
There's also times where that you could take a drop of water, where if you had a
Right.
separate cup of water in front of you, where that you could just take a drop, go over the clay, and smooth it over. It doesn't affect the clay
Right.
whatsoever.
Very good.
Perfect. Now we can start to set some chatons. Kellie, the next thing that I need you to do is to show how that we can create a tool to pick up the chatons.
Right, because they're very difficult to try to pick up on your own. So we can always start with the wax method. You have beeswax, and you can just pinch off a small piece and then roll it onto your toothpick We all have toothpicks around the house. Beeswax can be found at any craft store. And there you have a little homemade picker. And then you touch the top of a stone and guide it to your clay, and then press in. It's just awkward. You usually have another toothpick, it helps you, and then you can press it in as your design goes. And the other way is you can try to use tweezers. It's extremely hard because of all the facets that these stones have. You'll usually shoot them across the room. So if that's all you have, then you can definitely use that. Another method is the tool that I've designed, the crystal katana. It's a premium wax. We've adjusted the tip to press in for the smaller crystals, and you gently press on the stone, and then with the opposite end, you can easily press in that stone and get it nice and firm. And we'll go ahead and press this one in, and it leaves little to no wax residue.
That works great.
The other way that's really nice as well is a pump, and there's a hole here to stop the vacuum, and then you go to pick up your crystal, and it totally grabs it, and you bring it to your clay and give it a press.
Perfect. So there really is 4 ways of picking up a chaton.
Yes. Pick your favorite. So you always want to press your crystal into the clay far enough so you don't want to leave it sitting up. You want to press it in to hide the girdle of the crystal, which is, all of us ladies like to hide the girdle.
You definitely want to push the crystal into the clay enough.
All the way in. So Nick, after I mix this up, what's my working time? How long do I have to work with this?
Working time with the Ceralun is 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
That's one of the advantages of the Ceralun versus the other epoxy clays where they're 1 hour working time.
Right, that's quite a bit of time. I can get lots of these done, and I can work even longer on the itsy bitsy crystals. And so after I've mixed everything and set all my crystals, how long do I let it dry?
Well, the drying time, it's going to really start to set up in 3 to 4 hours. With any type of adhesive, and an epoxy clay is an adhesive, you should really let it set for 24 hours before trying to clean it or doing any additional work to the piece. The other advantage to the Ceralun clay is if you place it inside of an oven at 176 degrees Fahrenheit, it will cure in 2 hours. And I wouldn't place it inside of your regular oven. It would definitely be an oven that was purposely used for just adhesive drying, so maybe a small toaster oven would
Wonderful.
work well.
That's excellent options for those of us that need to get something done quickly. After I finish creating my designs and my jewelry pieces, what is the shelf life for this product?
Well, if you store this material at room temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit and it's not subjected to any extreme changes, whether it be heat or extreme cold, you have a 1-year shelf life with this material.
Oh, that's great. I would go through this amount in probably 3 or 4 days, so that's not a problem. And so, Nick, I've also wondered, I noticed that the smell of this epoxy clay is not so strong. It's almost a pleasant smell. Is there other safety precautions that we need to know about?
Well, as I said earlier, that you should definitely wear a pair of gloves when you're mixing it.
Right.
For those of you that really like to wear gloves the whole time, that's perfectly acceptable. But this material is green. It is the most green epoxy out on the marketplace. And you do notice that there is no odor coming from this. That's definitely a huge advantage with the Ceralun.
Right, it's quite a difference. Well, I think I'm about to finish my beautiful piece. It's going in quite well.
Perfect. And you notice that it's not as sticky as the other clays. That's because this clay was made specifically for our foiling.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's definitely a difference.
So it's definitely going to hold much better than other epoxy clays. So Kelly, the piece looks fantastic. So as I mentioned earlier, you can definitely take acetone, maybe a Q-tip, go over the top of the crystals, maybe remove some of the excess wax that's there, or off of the casting or finding that you're working with, or you can also use water to clean up on the sides of the piece.
Great, that's a very easy cleanup.
Thanks, great job. Kelly, the next demonstration that I'm going to want you to show is how that the Ceralun, or the epoxy clay, will stick to either wood or the crystal. So Kelly, if you would take this crystal stone, put some
Great.
of the Ceralun down, and start to decorate.
A cosmic flat fancy stone. These are my favorite.
Excellent.
The Ceralun loves adhering to these stones.
So you're just building up a little bit of a dome on top of the...
That's right. Just thick enough for your largest stone to set into. And I'll grab my beeswax and toothpick and begin designing with my chatons. Sometimes the beeswax can slow you down a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to my crystal katana to speed things up. I have just a few more here to lay in.
That tool really works well, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm quite proud and happy to share it with the world because it really does ease up many processes. One more here. And you know, I mean, I do favor pink. These pink crystals are lovely, but it's not quite pink enough for me. So there's a treatment you can do using mica powders. If you have some colored mica powders or glitter dust, you can sprinkle it on. And even though this white clay is lovely, you can change it to have a little bit more saturation using your mica powders. Just sprinkle it on, and you only want to do this when you're finished setting your crystals. It's going to act like flour and dough. It's going to not be sticky anymore. So just dab it in all your areas that you want to change the color, and it's going to take on that hue of pink. And for this one, it's a quite metallic, rosy color, one of my favorites.
So Kelly, now that you've placed that powder on top of the crystals, how long are you going to have to wait for that to dry?
I'm going to wait for the full curing time, and then just like you said with cleanup, a little bit of alcohol or acetone, and it'll clean up the residue just fine. Well, Nick, I'm finished and I'm quite proud of my piece, but how can I wear it?
Kelly, I'm so glad that you asked me that. Kelly, what I have here in front of us is I have a casting that was specifically made for that flatback stone.
Great.
You could also have a finding created, but before that we get into the gluing aspect of that crystal,
Okay.
you have been playing with epoxy clays and some of your
Powder.
mica powders here. So I'd like to have you give your hands a quick wipe with some rubbing alcohol.
And I can also clean the piece now since we're ready
Perfect.
to transition. Just gently wipe, get all the mica powders and dust and finger oils.
That came out great.
Thank you, I'm loving it. And then I'm also going to clean the casting because it's fresh out of the package, and so we always want to get the manufacturing residues off.
Plus, I think some of my fingerprints are on there.
Right.
Now, Kelly, you could also use acetone to do the same thing as you just did with the rubbing alcohol. So the next step that I'd like to have you do is to take the CG 500, and that's the
my
Swarovski
favorite.
glue.
Yes.
And you're going to mix a 1-to-1 ratio, so you're going to mix equal parts of A and B.
A bubble there.
Kelly, I'm going to have you take a toothpick.
Great.
And you're going to mix that together for around 30 seconds to a minute. Just make sure that you combine both parts of the A and B really well.
Alrighty.
I like what you just did there. You're actually taking the edges
Roll
of the
it.
glue and rolling or folding it in together.
All right, I think we're ready.
I think you are too. So you can just take that toothpick and put a little bit of the adhesive into the casting. I get a little bit inside the middle edges. I like how that you're putting a little dot there, and then you can actually kind of squeegee it out to cover the area of the casting. So that's great. And now, Kelly, that looks fantastic. So now you could pick up your flatback stone that you've decorated with the chatons and using the Ceralun epoxy. Perfect.
Wow, it fits so wonderfully.
So now once that dries at room temperature for about 24 hours, we'll just either put a cord or a nice chain on there, and you've now created a nice necklace. Great job, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm excited to wear it out.
Kelly, do you love it?
I love it.
I absolutely love it too. Guess what, Kelly?
What?
You just created your style with Swarovski elements.
Thank you, and now you can too.
We look forward to bringing you new episodes featuring fun, creative, and easy ways to use Swarovski elements. Remember to visit our website at www.createyourstyle.com, and please share your designs on our Facebook fan page and follow us on Pinterest. We also welcome your postings, comments, and questions. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Kellie DeFries, better known as the Crystal Ninja, for coming on the 3rd episode of Ask the Professor. Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
Again, I'm Nick Regine, the Professor of Crystal, answering all your crystal application questions.
You answered all mine.
Thanks, Kelly.